Hey, everybody. I'm Hannah G. You're listening to the podcast Speak Volumes by Blueprint. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a lot. It's been a long time. I feel like we've been on a pause. I don't know what's going on. Haven't heard from you guys. How's Corona? How's the job search? Any Black Friday deals? I went ham. Well, Speak Volumes, you guys know already, but in case you're new to the program, we're demystifying the act of nonprofiting. We do that by talking to people, like our guest today, who do it well, and in many cases, want it. Sabrina Labossiere from the SLAPcollective.
Yes.
Bree.
Yes.
I'm talking to you like I haven't talked to you.
I know. Talk to me.
Talk to me, sis. The last time I saw you was well before Corona.
Yep.
It was a chance meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You put together an event at Harlem We Work, which is where our offices are.
Yeah.
And it was mad dope. Vegan food, delicious. You had poetry. You had a panel, which you impromptu asked me out of nowhere. I was like, who? What? But you had a dope rapper. The lady, there was a young lady there.
Felicia George.
Was it?
Felicia George.
Felicia George. We gotta tag her in this because she was so dope.
Yeah.
And your nonprofit is very original. I don't think I've seen anything like it, at least not in New York. The SLAPcollective is a melding of groups, individuals, and initiatives who stand for self-love, affirmation, and preservation by way of creative practices. Is that pretty succinct?
It's very succinct in the sense that it's just super broad. It's gatherings and opportunities just based on bringing people together through dialogue and artistry.
That's dope.
So yeah.
No, I'm with it.
We'll get there later.
I can't wait. Tell me about it, because this is also, we met pretty random.
Yeah.
I think on Jump, in my mind, I was like, yes, she's going to be a podcast guest. Yes.
Facts.
Yes. Facts. And it was all a matter of logistics, and then Corona hit, and it was bad. It was bad on our end. But so not only is this going to be an opportunity for our guests to learn about you, but I'm actually on the front seat trying to tell us
where
you come from, sis.
Word. So I'm one of the few people that I know in my adult life that are born and raised New York. Never left. Some people go away, they stay away, or they come back after some time or whatever. But born and raised New York, never left. And long story short of that, it's just I feel like anything outside of obviously family and just the people and things that you build here, just New York is very special, and anything you establish and build here, you can pick up and put wherever else that you want. So I've been over here not doing the smartest things in terms of really trying to, actualize ideas and such and build community. But if I could do it here, I could do it anywhere. So I was born and raised in this small town called Elmont. It's on the border of Queens and Long Island.
Okay.
On the Long Island side, which automatically gives people so many different ideas and perceptions of oh, you're a Long Island kid, which yes, has its things. But when I say we're literally on the border, our school was 2 blocks away from the Queens border.
Oh,
so
wow.
We are...
But you're still Suffolk.
No, we're Nassau.
Get out.
Yeah, Suffolk is out.
Okay.
See, everybody, I got to explain the fish to you? The head of the fish is
Here
Brooklyn.
Look at people. No, but it seems like you've given this speech a couple times. All right.
Because there's so many transplants, and especially in the art scene, so many people come here to make it in terms of the industry or just business, anywhere. There's here we are, which itself, it's just a lot of people come to New York and have the movie idea of what it is and how things work. And it's actually...
let me talk to you about the fish.
Exactly. Let me tell you about the fish, because Brooklyn is on Long Island. So there's a lot of those just preliminary conversations.
Yeah.
But no, all seriousness, I bring that up because I think it's a reason why our town is so special and important, because a lot of the families that grew up there were first-generation Americans. Our parents were in Brooklyn. They were in Harlem. They were in the Bronx. They came here as immigrants, whether as children or as adults.
And you
But
said our family, meaning
my town, like
okay,
ours,
yeah,
like all of ours, because my story is not unique in the sense of like I grew up with a bunch of people from the West Indies, a bunch of people from Africa,
yeah,
and like that was my normal. So we were in Long Island, but like everywhere I looked was black folks.
yeah.
Well, West India, we weren't black. I wasn't claiming black yet. I didn't understand blackness
Oh, I
until I
can't
went
wait
to
till we hit
college.
that story.
So yeah.
That epiphany
But
story.
looking around,
Yeah.
we all look the same, but like you're Guyanese, you're Trinidadian, you're Jamaican, I'm Haitian, I'm Nigerian.
Right.
So that was just
The identity was just
there. We were from Elmont, we whatever, but
Yeah.
like no one.
Yep.
Identity wasn't a thing yet, you know. It was just like, oh, my man, them from whatever, and we just like grew up together. But
so your parents were first generation, like they
I'm
are
first generation.
Okay.
So both my parents were born in Haiti.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And again, similar to a lot of the stories that we have in our town, is like both came to Brooklyn, and by the time they started their families and had kids, like I spent 1 year living in Queens, and then my life was in Long Island. But again, across the border, my weekends were still in Brooklyn. We just happened to be that departure from our family that we're able to get to that next like middle class, whatever step.
Right.
So, and again, that story goes to a lot of people that I grew up with. Right. So we don't know we're special.
Yeah.
We just are this black town on the border of and whatever else, and got families that are from all over. Our cousins come and stay with us in the summer. You know, like that's just the type of like upbringing. And cool part about my town too is we had a soccer league in our town that all of our parents coach. You know, West Indian, you can play. Everybody's in there, but you're on a team with, again, that mixed pot of like all these cultures that grow up playing football and soccer and stuff. And our dads are coaching, our moms are on the sidelines. So we grew up in a very community sports, just like town alliance of people being involved in what was going on in town. Our parents kind of like leading the charge and like making sure, like we all grew up at the sump on the field.
That's mad dope though. So like
super fire.
Yeah, like so your parents were not divorced. You're not a product of divorce.
I am.
Okay.
My childhood was beautiful. By the time I got to like 12, 13, family really started to kind of fall apart, and my parents were divorced by the time I was 15, 16. And it took a while. Like I had to go to court, I had to get a lawyer myself, like really crazy experience in that sense. But my childhood of growing up in a town of, again, a lot of Caribbean, just different non-American cultured families that understood family and coming to America and all of that other stuff. Like
that's a whole different, people don't understand. That's a unique
I'm
club.
still starting to learn like really how important all of that is.
Right.
And what that means, because I know we alluded to it and we'll probably get to it more later.
Yeah.
But Blackness wasn't a thing. It was just, we were all here really proud and celebratory of our own personal cultures. We kind of grew up with that. I go to this house and it's like, oh, I got something like this at my house too, but it's different.
Yeah.
What's that? That's why I'm laughing about the Ethiopian food. It's like, man, that's some home. I want that. That's what I'm asking for. I'm trying to eat with my hands, share with my people, and, you know, stuff like that. So I grew up playing sports my entire life.
You got siblings?
I have an older brother, which is why soccer was a thing. My dad never played soccer, but being Haitian, loved the sport. It's part of his culture as well. And my brother's 3 years older than me. When he turned like 4 or 5, my dad started coaching soccer. Okay. And he coached that same group of kids from the time they were 5 until they graduated high school.
It was co-ed. Was it co-ed?
It was boys.
Got it. Okay.
So when I was like 2, 3, started playing soccer because my dad was on the field the whole time anyway. And again, the neighbors, everybody's kids were just on the field. The parents that were the treasurer, the secretary, the VP, the president of the neighborhood league and stuff. Yeah. So that was life. That was childhood. And came up playing. I played on the boys team until I was 12. Me and my best friend. And then when we turned 13, we transitioned to playing on girls sports team. And we were playing up. So like we were just always just part of that just culture of playing together on weekends. We were all together. Yeah. Our parents driving everybody everywhere, things like that.
Yeah, perfect childhood.
Perfect childhood.
And then really things got rocky.
Things got rocky.
Things always get rocky. It wouldn't be life if things didn't get rocky.
So things got rocky. Actually started with like the passing of my maternal grandmother. Okay. Who On my dad's only child, coming
Oh,
from Haiti, which is an anomaly.
yeah.
Usually it's a brood of kids.
Yeah.
But my mom is the oldest of four,
Okay.
with three younger brothers, and single
Mhm.
mom, moved to the States to,
Yeah.
get that success story and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
build that life. So when she passed away, it was a lot of just like turmoil and hurt and stuff in my family.
Yeah.
And there was a stretch of about 18 months where a lot of the elders in my family started to pass away and
Gotcha. And
passed
they
away.
kind of held. They were like the
Yeah.
glue.
They were the glue, and they were the glue in a sense, but also like all my mom's cousins and stuff, like they're all like groups of three, groups of four, and like
Mhm.
all their parents oddly just, fell ill or started to pass away. And I know I was about 11 or 12, so I didn't have a full understanding, but
Right.
I know in my particular household, it really deteriorated a lot. My mother fell into depression and just,
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine, again, as I'm getting older, it's been really nice for me to, as I'm getting into my adulthood and realizing like the so many phases that there are to life. As I'm witnessing and experiencing them for myself, I'm just imagining all the things for my mother and my father and my parents and their family. So, long story short, family kind of took a beating.
Yeah.
And in my particular household, my parents separated.
Right.
And it was not amicable. It was not fun. Like I mentioned, I had to,
Yeah.
as a 13, 14-year-old, get a lawyer and testify why I wanted to live with my dad versus my mom.
That's traumatic.
It just, like,
Yeah,
what you
like-
mean why I want to?
Right. Well, you got to say it in front of your mom, and you got to say it with a lawyer.
You got to say it with a lawyer.
Yeah.
You got to be consistent.
Right.
You got to show proof. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's not like I'm saying I want to live with the man up the street. Like, I'm
Right,
trying to live with my dad.
Right.
But
It's not like I hate my mom. Like, it's
Yeah.
just y'all.
I'm better over here.
Right.
So yeah, it was just like really interesting. And by the time that all of that kind of came into completion, my brother was off at school, and like I said, I wanted to live with my father, and my dad got the house. And
That's very different.
Very different,
Yeah.
especially within our culture.
Definitely. Oh, when you put culture into it.
Yeah, when you put
In American society, it's different. When you put the culture into it, it's like, yo.
To one point, like my dad didn't even want to get divorced. Probably had the same feelings of the relationship that they had either way, but he just was so within his faith, within again his culture, that like we worked this through.
Right.
They were married for 22.
22 years? I did not know that.
Married for 22, together for plus.
Wow.
And just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then from there, my dad and I were always super close. I was always daddy's girl.
Yeah.
An athlete. So
Yeah.
my dad, bless his heart, never missed a soccer game, never missed a basketball game,
dope.
unless he was literally out of town traveling for work.
Yeah.
My entire career through college.
That's an anomaly. So my dad was also someone of culture, right? We're African, and they got divorced. And so
How old were you?
I was 8.
Okay.
I was 8. So it was like, okay, he fell into what the stereotype is of the American, the African American, separated family, where the father kind of falls off, or he's not there all the time, and so that was and it's a horrible narrative, but it's a narrative that's very familiar in the African American community.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not even married, and you just have a kid, and there's no really commitment to the relationship, and the father drifts off. I'm not going to sit up here and say like you had it great, but you had an experience that allows your father to be in your life.
Yeah.
That's wild. I'm jealous. That's dope.
Yeah.
I'm jealous, but that's dope. I love you, Mom. Like that just sounds like right. But like, so was he like it sounds like he was very supportive athletically, and I'm going to assume he was supportive educationally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I'm gonna support you in sports, it's because you're doing what you're supposed to do academically.
Right.
That stuff. So again, still from that household of lawyer, doctor,
engineer.
You
right.
only got three boxes to check, and if you check other, you're wrong.
Right. So we'll get to the nonprofit part of it because we chose the wrong path.
So what do you mean nonprofit? How you getting money? Oh my goodness.
Right. So let's talk, because that's like you can't step to your family talking about nonprofit anything. Like that purpose doesn't mean anything. Okay, so you said you went to college. So I want to talk about that, because most people who want to start a nonprofit, they usually don't need college. But you probably had a different path. or a goal
Mhm.
going to, why did you go to college?
I
What
was
the goal?
told I had to.
Word.
Very short, point blank period.
But you had no interest, or
I mean, I did. I didn't know I didn't have an interest.
right. Okay. You didn't know what you didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, please, make that the title of all of these episodes. But no, I again grew up playing sports. I was also very academically inclined. I graduated like top of my class. Applied where I wanted to, and went into application season not even thinking that I was going to play sports in college.
Okay.
Yeah. Applied, got in, and my brother went to NYU. I hate saying where I went, by the way.
Why?
We'll get there. So many personal reasons. But went to NYU, and
you went to NYU.
I went to NYU also, so followed suit. Got to my senior game of my soccer season my senior year
in high school. Okay.
And was in shambles because I was like, what did I do? I'm never going to play sports again. And
wait, why?
I just decided I wasn't going to play sports in college. If I'm going to college, I'm going to get out. It was my last game of my soccer season. My senior year. And I was like, oh shit, I'm never going to play soccer again.
But you could have played in college, no?
But like that wasn't, I had already applied, like I was already going to school without playing any sports.
Yeah.
Like if I played, it would have been like rec or intramurals or something. But like the structure of sports in conjunction, I guess, with academics was like what I've known.
Right.
And also just love the sports. I realized like, oh, I don't love school. I love playing sports at my school.
The school was the second point.
This is just where the sports happen.
Right.
But, so yeah, just went in the senior year and I was like, oh snap, like I messed up. And had some conversations with my guidance counselor, who happened to be my basketball coach as well. And he was like, well, there's some last minute showcases and stuff that you can go to. We could figure it out. Long story short, I ended up getting some scholarship opportunities for soccer, but had gotten into NYU, was my first choice. It was city life for the little Long Island girl. So I was like, I'm trying to go here.
Yeah.
More so because I knew just career-wise, I would want to be in business, whatever that was.
So so you went in thinking I'm going to be a business major.
Yeah. And again, New York is the place to be for that. So I'm going to still go to NYU. I ended up walking on to the basketball team.
Dope.
And after tearing my ACL and having an awful sophomore season, I tore my ACL freshman year, but we had a Final Four season. It was incredible. It was one of the best experiences of my life.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So college was awesome.
Bye-bye soccer.
Switched to soccer my junior year.
Excuse me.
Tore another ACL my junior year. Went back, but I was fortunate enough to start working full-time my senior year. So sports was done. My life was starting. Yeah. But in college, I majored in economics and business. Yeah. Entertainment marketing. Yeah. Like I knew I was going into something that was just like business world.
What was that job that when you were in college, you were saying, okay, the major is the major, whatever. But what was the ideal job for you?
I don't think I knew that yet, but I knew I wanted to do music industry. Okay. Like I'm not musically inclined at all, but like just, you grow up with music, just the love of New York radio, like that culture. I was like, oh, I'm trying to be in music, and I didn't know what that was. Yeah. But I ended up interning going into senior year at a booking agency, and that ended up being like my full-time job my senior year. I was on schedule to graduate early, and I did like part-time for the rest of the year. Yeah. Took piano and writing my last semester, and
Do you know how to play the piano though?
No.
Chopsticks?
I played
as racial as that is.
I played my entire life, and it was because I took lessons. Like parents forced me to take lessons, and I was able to read music. But it's just like anything else, if you don't practice, you're back to trash. Yeah. And I'm trash. But I could play chopsticks, and like I could fake fear release.
I can play my best chopsticks out here, bro.
One-handed, but yeah, it's pretty terrible.
You're one-handed. All right.
But yeah, college was that, and while I was at school, I realized, oh, this is an institution.
So when did that happen? Like, I guess, like when did you have your epiphany? Or when did that come later on where you're just like, yo?
When I saw how a hall of 300 plus economic students got graded against each other, and it was about like the numbers, and there was no space for like actual learning
Yeah.
and the reinforcement of lessons and stuff. I
Yeah.
essentially like stopped going to class. I taught myself like, as long as your syllabus is on point, I can
Yeah.
pass your class
Pretty
essentially.
much. Yeah.
And that's really just what made me get into this, because high school was easy for me, and then I almost failed my first semester of college and was like, oh snap, I'm going to lose this partial academic scholarship, I'm going to get kicked off of basketball, and I'm really just not going to have a good time here.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out like, yeah,
How do I care? How do I make myself care about this?
So I had
Yeah.
to, and my way to do that was to find other things that I cared about
Yeah.
and figure out how to make time for those things while
Yeah.
I was upholding all my obligations. So
Okay.
I think that's the best education I got at NYU.
That's dope.
Yeah.
It's in your face, NYU. I didn't really
Thanks
like
for
your classes.
expensive paper.
Yeah. Didn't even like your classes. You guys suck. Okay, so you graduated. Now you're in the job market. You got your resume. You're applying for...
So I was lucky with my internship that
Yeah.
I applied to. Like, I was able to talk them into like, hey, if I have the time to come here during the week, like, would you keep me?
Yeah.
So instead of graduating early, I spread that out
Yeah.
and was able to work full time while
This
I
is
was
corporate.
finishing up college.
You're essentially in corporate.
I'm essentially in corporate, but another fun fact that I think I'm again just starting to like realize in my life is that I've been fortunate to only work for Black or brown people.
From the beginning, since the beginning.
So the booking agency was very small boutique agency,
Right.
Black led, Guyanese and Antiguan and
Yeah.
Black staff and all that other stuff. So
Yeah.
like in the culture, for the culture, about the culture,
Yeah.
understood it, and we were able to like really monopolize on it.
That's
From
dope.
understanding the culture and being a part of it too. They were seniors in the industry as well that were able to just leverage their relationships to create business outside of the United States, because CAA, William Morris, all those big agencies, the corporates that you mentioned, they cornered the market, and this was back in the days of like 360 deals, and they own everything. So
I know, I have no clue what you're talking about.
But they didn't.
Yes,
you
but I'm
nodded
not.
at the right
I'm not
time.
and smile. These are 1990 words.
Yeah, but they didn't have exclusivity elsewhere, so we took that American business internationally to Africa, to Australia, to Europe, and like
I mean, we have reggaeton now. Like the
leveraging.
music
This
right
is
now.
right when Pitbull was getting hot. So I'm talking just to time it for y'all too. This is before social media and before streaming. So you had to be selling records to be on tour and doing all this stuff. So I'm talking like Akon, T-Pain, Missy, Busta, Pitbull, like huge mega stars that we're booking. Like, let's go on this run in Africa. Let's go on this run in India and whatever else. So got to see again how these industries work, how corporate works, and how if you know enough, if you have enough conviction and can pull the right people, you could do some other stuff elsewhere. There's more pie that they might not be even paying attention to.
Right.
So was fortunate enough to enter the job market in that way.
Got you. Do you read? So a lot of kids when they graduate, a lot of young adults when they graduate college, the idea is that corporate is synonymous with security. I think that's the false impression that society has told us, that and it's perpetuated during the time of pensions. You go into a job that's corporate, you get your 401k, which we think is, I'm not even gonna go into how.
What you think? No, go ahead. Just what you think it was? Because me, I didn't know how none of it worked, and I would have made lots of different decisions otherwise. I wish people told me the truth about corporate, about the pathway to there, the education pipeline, like all the things.
I didn't know what corporate seemed like this person. Like, it was so elusive to me because you have to, like, for me, it was like, okay, what is corporate? I always thought I didn't know that there was a corporate, let's just say, I didn't realize every industry had a corporate. And so when I heard corporate, I don't know, I just thought it was like a mega company.
It's the government.
Yeah, something big, something like outlandish that I just could not, like, what does corporate mean?
Yeah.
But first of all, my dad hated that I was in business. I remember when I was supposed to be in biochem. He was the first person. See Africans? You see Africans? Because that was my pre-med. That was my pre-med major. And he was like, I was like, Dad, I'm changing the business. He got so mad. The last time we had a podcast, he was in the room. I'm glad he's not in the room now, because I swear if he was here and he heard me say what I'm about to say, he would jump into the camera. But that's not what happened. But this is what happened. We was in my studio apartment at the time, and I broke the news because I really cared what my dad thought. I was like, Dad, I'm changing my major. He's like,
Mhm.
okay. He's just preparing himself like, okay, idiot. What are you gonna? I'm not doing biochem. I'm doing
Mhm.
business. And I swear, he hit the wall. Was not. He was angry. He was angry quiet. He was
Mhm.
angry quiet. But it was quiet. Meaning he didn't say it. But he was hit the wall. He slammed the door. He was so disappointed. Later on, when he got, it took a few months, but he was like, you got to find a job that's like essentially corporate.
Mhm.
I'm like, what's that you talk about? Like, what does that mean? What does
Oh,
corporate mean?
okay. Got your future plan for you.
Yeah, because he don't know. He's African. He
Yeah.
doesn't know what
My
corporate
dad's
means.
35 years pharmaceutical sales.
Really?
Yeah,
He
talk
knows
to me
corporate.
about it.
He knows corporate though, right?
That's all he knows.
I was just
That's
saying,
all he
yo,
knows.
pharmaceutical sales, that's very lucrative.
I live in
Yo.
I'm from Long Island.
I like your Gucci shoes. Y'all don't know. She has like
Oh, nah,
Gucci.
hell no. Stop. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Everything I got here is thrifted. Okay?
Whatever. Yo, thrift vintage Gucci. What is this? No, but okay, so you didn't have that experience, which is dope, because usually I always in my mind, and you're breaking the barrier for
I
me
did have that experience.
of corporate.
Oh, me having experience. No,
Yeah.
I did have the experience of my dad talking about corporate,
right.
security, benefits, all of that.
So why didn't you go into corporate? Did you have to tell him, Dad, corporate in America means, assimilation?
Mhm.
It means, did you have the words to tell him why corporate wasn't for you? Or like,
Then no,
Yeah.
but I knew that where I was a satellite to corporate. Like, we floating around it. We're
Right.
able to kind of like pick from it. It was
Yeah.
like that reverse engineering of, where the taxpayers' dollars are going.
Yeah.
I was able to like reverse engineer that.
Yes.
But no, I didn't have the language. But funny story is, sophomore year of college, was sick of it. Approaching the holidays, and I had this whole plan, because like you said, I care what my father thought and
Yeah.
whatever else. I was like, Dad, I'm finna quit. Don't worry about me. I won't ever ask you for no money though. Like, if
Yeah.
I don't ask you for money, is it cool? Hell
Yeah.
no. Like, well, I ain't got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But you need this, you need the security, you need that, or
Yeah.
whatever else. And I'm like, oh, this is weird. But I did know that I was in a special place working at that agency because of the ways that they did business. It was, again, they were able to jump in and out of that corporate setting and be able to do business in that realm, but they didn't necessarily function that way.
Right. The culture was just very.
Once the rest of my friends started graduating and I heard what their job was, and I'm like, why are you in my office trying to sell me life insurance? Oh, I gotta hit this number. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I started to see I was in a little bit of a different world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never really had explicit corporate experience. I did the music industry for like 3.5 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I hit a ceiling at that particular boutique.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit more privy that like all the business wasn't great.
Yeah.
Like I said, it wasn't corporate, but it was.
Had its problems.
Yes,
had its
problems.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I ended up not working for a little while, and then I went into startup, which is kind of corporate, but also not. So was fortunate to just be in those two work situations. And then since I was at that startup and it got bought, I was there from like go to market. It got purchased. I was one of the very first and quick ones to go to get chopped. And then I had already started SLAP by then. So I was just like really focused on that.
We are now entering the phase of you becoming an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So that's very unstable.
Yes.
Because it's not as, it's all about, it's on you.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, tell us about this. Tell us about the decision to even become an entrepreneur. And then before we get into like, what were you an entrepreneur of?
I feel like entrepreneurship usually 90, 80, whatever percent of the time just happens by accident. Like, no one chooses it. I for sure did not. The life chose me. So,
here we go. Come on.
So that's how it goes.
Yes. But what was the condition? Like, I just didn't want to work 9 to 5. Like, this 9 to 5 thing is just not for me.
Yeah, it just wasn't hitting. It wasn't doing it. Yeah. But I think similar to college, again, back to our previous conversation, but just that realization that what I'm filling my time with isn't like doing something for me.
Right.
So I was still trying to find more things to do, more things I was interested in or that I cared about.
Yeah.
By the point that I started, at least SLAP, I was about 2 years in at the startup. And the first couple years of startup world, when you're bringing something to market, is like you go sell it. And I was on the sales team,
Yeah.
and like we were moving, we were hustling, we were traveling, we were doing a bunch of stuff, and
Yeah.
like that was where I was spending all my time. I was drinking with the boys that I generally in my normal life would not be friends with, would
Right.
not hang out with, would not spend time with,
Right.
but because I just spent 8 hours with you in the office, I'm gonna also go drink with you for 2-3
Yeah.
more
Welcome.
hours.
Yeah, that sounds corporate.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's startup, so it's
Right.
like glorified to like be crazy and shit faced and
Yeah.
like loud and boisterous
Yeah.
about your work.
Right.
So it was really interesting. But I mean, growing up an athlete, I'm about it. I'll talk shit with you. I'll beat you. I'll drink
Drink,
you.
exactly.
Like
Drink
all
on the
of
table.
those,
Yeah.
all of those things, and like cool, but like I wasn't doing anything.
Like when did that hit? The fact that, because there are a lot of people that realize they're not doing anything,
Mhm.
but don't do anything about it. They'll
Yeah.
just continue living life not doing. And it's less about being productive. It's more about having purpose.
Yeah.
And so when did that finally hit you where it's like, man, I'm just not fulfilled?
Yeah. It was around that mark that like I was just always on the road. I was one of the best in sales. I'm not even gonna be
Go ahead,
modest.
toot your-
Like
you're a toot
exactly
your own
number one in
horn.
sales.
Look at
I was
you.
just starting to get
Selling
as-
life insurance.
nah.
So that all
I bought life insurance my freshman year from my other
You used
friend.
to doing adult things. Like, I bought life insurance.
And I haven't bought it since, but I got it for life apparently. So yeah, we were just moving a lot, and I was starting to just gain more responsibility, move up in the company, and like just seeing more and more of my time getting devoured, and more of what I thought about and spent time caring about had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
It was my team, it was these numbers, it was the coaches that we were servicing. I worked at a like sports tech company. We were
Right.
doing breakdowns and analytics for teams. So cool. It was just a different side of sports that I was like, maybe I don't care about sports as much as I did or the way that I did. And maybe it just has a different like purpose in my life. So I was quite frankly just trying to find something that I personally cared about.
Yeah.
And I guess within that same realm of figuring things out, I was recognizing that I wasn't writing anymore. Like I never considered myself to be like a poet or a writer, but it was something that I did.
Yeah.
Like it was a way that I processed. It was a way that I expressed and just was able to kind of like document my thoughts and feelings and such. And just something in the mix of literally running to and from work and always being in the mix of speaking with and being around other people, I just kind of lost that space and time of writing. And I cared that I wasn't writing. I didn't know why I cared. I didn't know what that feeling of like this is missing. I just was like, damn, I haven't written in a while. I haven't had any thoughts that I wanted to like creatively just kind of like mess around with. And I started to explore that a little bit. And I decided that I wanted to just spend time with other people that cared about writing and see what it was that I cared about in terms of writing. So
it sounds like from the beginning, you weren't trying to I'm just going to make a generalization. People who go to college, the idea is that you go to college to make money and you find the job that pays the most. And it doesn't sound like that has been your mission at all.
No.
Like it's always been about what do I like?
For sure.
Which is still you're still on a better foot than most of us, which is, I gotta be the best at whatever so I can have the most. But did that, I guess, was that never a fact? Am I correctly, realize like
No, I think like I definitely wanted to get paid for the work I was doing.
Yeah.
But if I was getting a check, I was within my means, I was cool.
Yeah.
So as I'm sure you know, like we don't ever get the check that we deserve. We not ever getting paid for our actual time and the contributions that we make, which I guess I knew and really quickly was made sure of when I did enter working, even working at Black and brown institutions. Like, you running a business, you trying to keep your inflow
profit.
higher than your output.
Yeah.
So if you can find that and get that, then you can. And I've always, you pay your dues, you whatever else. I just got to a point working wise that I just knew I wasn't going to work anywhere where I wasn't learning. I was never going to pay for an education again. I was going to get paid to be taught. And that's kind of how I navigated the working opportunities that I took, and the jobs that I was able to navigate. Was like, it's worthwhile if I can remove myself from the role for who I was delivering it for,
Yeah.
and like be able to apply whatever it was I was spending my time to myself,
Yeah.
and be able to
Develop, like personal development.
personally develop
Yeah.
and make it something that I could think of
Yeah.
outside of this realm.
Right.
Then it's worthwhile. So I think with that, it just made it easier. And of course, again, competition. So
Yeah.
sales, you know, you just, there
Yeah.
are other things that kind of like keep you, but I was never going to stay anywhere that I wasn't learning,
Right.
and also again being paid aptly to learn. So
Right.
you know, you negotiate your rates and stuff. My base was trash, but
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be selling, so I made money. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep,
And
yep.
I've made good money. I've, in both of the jobs that I've had with the music industry and in sales, like I've seen and made people millions.
Yeah.
And one day I'm gonna make myself those millions. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I know I can do it,
Right.
just learn it. Learn
Right.
how you can,
Right.
and what it means to you. Because chasing the bag for something you don't care about is more times more stressful and less fulfilling than like being contributive to something where you can still at least, you know, get education, receive the means that you need, and kind of like move forward from there. So sometime within that realm, it just, the 9 to 5 became the gig, became the side hustle, you know, became the like, I'm gonna flip this,
Right.
I'm gonna make this work for me type
Right.
of thing.
Right. So when you had Slap Collective, because you said you incepted it while you were working.
Yep.
And so when did it get to the point where you could stop working and just totally focus? Like, what was that transition like? What was and even that decision making? Like, walk us through that decision when, because I think a lot of people, including myself, like before you actually want to do a nonprofit, there has to be this decision. It's like it's the difference between wanting to do it and then deciding, like, this is what I'm going to do. So take us through that decision.
Absolutely. And it's going to be very anticlimactic when this decision's made, but I'll get there.
I set this whole stage up.
No. It'll be interesting. So I started up on Meetup, actually, which was purchased by WeWork, which is part of how I was able to start establishing that relationship with WeWork.
Yeah.
But I started writing workshops as a Meetup. And it was the same self-love, affirmation, and preservation, but it was actually geared towards LGBTQ and like queer community. Because personally, so this is where the purpose starts to kick in. Why do I care about writing that I'm not writing and whatever else? The significance of writing in my life, particularly in high school when I was coming to terms with my sexuality, was that I was able to write my thoughts and feelings and revisit them less charged than when I was in the moment of those feelings.
Right.
So writing was just something of processing and of healing, of just being able to face myself, essentially. So again, why do I care about writing? Oh, these are the things that I know I care about when I do write, or are the things that bring me to write. And just wanted to pay respect to that, and really hold space for the idea that writing is a very personal, intimate thing. So yeah, writing workshop is cool, but you're not going to come here to get judged on what you write and what you share. It's really for you to personally just go through that exercise and that practice of expressing yourself and exploring yourself, which again is why with Slap, we really just try to dive into self-expression and exploration through creative arts. So we don't want you to come for anything other than like you were kind of thrown into some type of creative process or dialogue, and you learned more about yourself and you saw more of yourself within the room that you're in.
Dope.
So writing workshops. And then people would come and they like, well, I wrote something last night, or can I read more of something else? And it wasn't just writing, it was also that experience of sharing and being in a room and being held in that room and in that space, and having your words and your experiences received by others. And I was able to sit back and be like, oh shit, like this has nothing to do with writing. This has nothing to do with me. This is really just a larger experience that people are gaining from this and coming back for. So I did maybe like 3 or 4 writing workshops, and somebody was like, we should do an open mic afterwards. all right, we'll do an open mic. And then it was people that weren't coming to writing workshops,
Right.
that weren't writers, but had a thought or a note in their phone that was like, can I read this? Can I share this? It was
Yeah.
like, sure. And it's like, oh, people kind of just need a room to
An
be
outlet.
received
Yeah.
and stuff. So bless my heart, because like I said, I was there for the writing, and then it was just like, oh, you do photography, you started DJing recently, or
I'm
I saw you
painting.
painted
Yeah.
this, something, whatever.
Yeah.
And after about like the 8 months of consistency is key, I will throw that out there.
Mhm.
You know, you could do one, it was great, and then 3 months later you do something else and you hope people catch it. But
Yeah.
like, I kept a word to myself that I was going to host these workshops or whatever monthly, so that people know where to find me. They
Yep.
can't blame. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
I showed up.
Yeah. And you move around.
yeah.
You weren't just in Brooklyn.
So we actually started in Lower East Side because
Oh.
went to the school that shall remain nameless, but was in the city.
Yes.
And I spent my senior year and my year out of school living on 2nd and B. And this is in 2009, 2010,
Right,
when
right.
it was still underground music, speakeasies, New York Poetry Club. Like, it was the underground, like, art scene
Yep.
for the starving artists trying to
Yep.
make it. So I actually held my whole first year at a bar in Lower East Side. And then from there was like a lot of the community was in Brooklyn. So since 2016, we've been exclusively in Brooklyn, and then hopping around to different places that make sense. But we started in Lower East Side because, again, it was a very personal thing for me
Right, right,
to
right.
get going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you started Slap
Mhm.
and you decided to, okay, I'm transitioning
Mhm.
into doing this full time.
Yeah.
I guess where did the money come from? How do you fund it?
Got you.
Is that personal? Is that too personal?
I mean, it's coming from us personally, to
Yeah.
be completely honest.
Yeah.
But it's not too personal at all. So fast track again, that first year of doing these open mics and writing workshops and seeing the room and really observing and taking that role of like really seeing what the community is looking for and offering themselves. Did a larger showcase with the community that was a mix of visual arts on display, it was performances, and it was like food and interaction.
Right.
And that became
because there's food, there's good food. It's not just like I've been to the last, I'm saying it wasn't the last, was it the last one?
That was our last like public thing that we
because
did.
before Corona hit.
Yeah.
There's good food. It's not like just sloppy, cubes of cheese and like, deli meat. It's
not
like
hitting you with the deli platters.
like it was legit.
Some proper food for you. And that was where it really took breath and took off. So we did this large showcase that we call Friendsgiving, and it's an homage to our friends, and we're giving thanks to them, and we're allowing them to give and offer themselves to us as well. And that became like our end of year culmination. We do it every Saturday after Friendsgiving, after Thanksgiving. It's called Friendsgiving. So we literally are 1 week off of that. We just did that this Saturday, and we
How'd it go?
100% virtual this year. It was beautiful, and it
I didn't
was
get
such a testament of stop it. It's
such
a testament.
I didn't get an invite.
You didn't. Okay. I'm sorry. Nobody did for me personally this year, which has been it's been a beautiful process of like I was doing these open mics and hitting up 60 people a session, like yo, come through, and I'm proud on my personal level that like I haven't had to do personal outreach, and I should. It's terrible. I'm awful.
Yeah, but it's not a sales.
Let me get my little cop out. let me get my cop out.
But when these cameras come off, though, when these cameras turn off,
these hands.
Anything, I'm gonna get you on Clubhouse, though. We're gonna have a whole session on Clubhouse.
I'm
just kidding.
But so it just became from doing that and opening it up beyond like I know I started this, but it has nothing to do with me. I know there's just room that each of us need.
Yeah.
That saying of build it and they will come.
Yep.
Just happens.
Because you're facilitating this.
Yeah.
I mean, you are creating a space.
Yeah.
And your temperament even kind of allows. It's like when Sabrina comes in the room. This is how I like to.
Go ahead. I love hearing people's take.
Because it is when Sabrina, you're like the Febreze plugin. Like if it's a room of like stinky socks, fart, and like wet dog. If that's the smell in the room, Sabrina is the Febreze plugin that slowly just it's
a bit strange, but I'll take it.
You are, because it's like this serene, like this. It's just you're my producer was like, what is going on? No, but it is. It's like you come in this calming effect. Just
I've
like
been called worse, so I'll take Febreze.
I'm like,
okay?
the worst. I'm like, this is a compliment.
No, I've been called worse.
I'm like, this is a compliment.
yeah.
No, but when you come in the room, it's like you deactivate or it's like a diffuse, even if there's no problem. It's
Yeah.
just I don't know if the energy comes down. It's just like there's this thoughtfulness. I don't know. This whole
I
like
appreciate you.
like a guru just walked in. Like now
Word.
I gotta talk a little low. Sabrina just walked in.
Yeah, just calm down a little bit.
I know.
Turn
Like,
my mic up and
right,
everybody else calm down.
Exactly. With Sabrina, it's like, yo, no. Sabrina walks in. Hey, how you doing, Sabrina? My Barry White. You doing all right? How you doing? I'm living life.
All right.
Man.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Exactly.
I'm hyped to be here.
That's your
like,
hype face. Exactly. Your hype. That's it. Are you?
Yeah.
I am. I'm on 10 right now. I'm on 100. Like,
you'll get there. Don't worry.
I'm like, what? No, that's dope. That's dope. So, what's the next step?
So from there, it was when I opened it up beyond that, and people were just like, "What are you doing? And are you trying to do more?"
Yeah.
My two co-founders,
right?
Again,
let's mention them because it's two gentlemen.
So it's Gerald Picard and Victor Greenwich.
Yep.
My two very beautiful co-founders, and again, it was a giving of friends. It was only friends in that room. It was a very special random Thanksgiving as well, that there were so many people home that it just ended up being a reunion, a family celebration of the things that as adults and newly establishing ourselves as adults and such, like we're able to come into a room and be like, damn, I didn't know that about you, or that was fire, you should do more of that. And most of the people in the room were like, hey, I'm kind of dabbling and whatever else. So it ended up being confirmation for everybody that like not only is this a great room to be in, you belong in it, and you create it based on what you bring to it and how you like receive and interact with it.
Right.
And
I do ever get constructive though? Like if there's has there really ever been just like poo poo?
Yeah, we get a few that ain't it, but we encourage the
craft.
We encourage the craft and the expression as a daily practice.
Seems like you're fondling with something. It's not quite there. I could just see it.
But honestly, not too much. There's honestly, very truthfully, very little of that, because just as the creative, energetic beings that we are, we're popping. So we got so much going on.
No, you do. I mean, again, just going to the last one, I'm just like, what? Like, I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was walking into, because I don't know. Ismail, yeah. So he just hit me like, yo, you want to speak on this panel? I'm like, oh, you want me to? I'm kind of weird. I don't have social media. I'm not really. Our social media team kind of hit me up like, you should do Clubhouse, and she took me through the run through. I was very overwhelmed, and she knows it. She's like, it's okay, Hannah, just baby steps. So for me, it was like, go talk, and I'm like, what are we talking about? I don't feel like talking.
Oh, you was talking. So.
I sure was. I was angry. I was angry talking. I was definitely like, this should be this way. But I say all this to say, like, I didn't know that this was a thing, that this was in existence.
Yeah.
And I definitely see, especially especially post-corona. I mean, I have only heard about and it makes sense. People are really coping right now.
Yeah.
And some of it counterproductively when it comes to abuse of drugs, abuse of alcohol, abuse, just abusing. And some not destructive, like something with SLAPcollective. So have you, I guess, in your business, because I would love to see SLAPcollective grow, and I think it is like this is the right environment for something like a SLAPcollective to grow. Do you see that like in a corona?
I think so, and it's still a testament to the way that we've just grown organically over the years. So my two co-founders, as I mentioned, Gerald and Victor, collectively we've each known each other over like 50 years for all of us combined. Like same town. Yeah. We all grew up together, similar experiences, so understandings and such like that. Yeah. But similar experience of like not being the creatives, having the families that drive us towards career and things like that. But appreciating that space to, outside of career, have something that we care about, have something that looks like us, have something that is driven and created by us. So after that first Friendsgiving we did, it was very clear that we were onto something and that being in that room was impactful. And 3 heads is better than one. So they trusted me to kind of drive that ship, and we went straight into nonprofit, getting, incorporated
Right,
the
right,
nonprofit, just going
right,
through that process of
right,
just
right.
establishing what our mission was, and
Mhm.
personally as founders, just making sure that we're upholding integrity of why we're bringing people together.
Yep.
And that being, again, like, there's so many beautiful things for us to know about ourselves
Yep.
and to offer to the world, but we're not going to be able to find them unless we really mine for them, unless we put creative practices into play and make that something that on a daily basis is something that we tap into.
Right.
So wellness is like the umbrella that we're under, and we do everything from financial literacy to like photography workshops, writing workshops, open mics. Like, those are our staples, the
Right.
rooms for you to come to and talk.
Right.
But everything is around just like some creative way to entertain or think about wellness.
Right.
And again, we just, hey, we're doing this thing, and being the individuals that we are and the people that care about those that we interact with and meet, like, there's no way that other people don't come along. And we've been fortunate that people have experienced what we have to bring, and see the community that we're bringing together, and see themselves there,
Yeah.
and want to come along. So it just kind of like started snowballing from there.
Yep.
And we always listen to who's saying what, and we try to iterate and program around that, because those are real tangible needs and conversations that need to happen. So if one person needs to have that experience, more than likely it's something that'll benefit all of us.
Yep. Yep.
And I started this, again, like, while I was working. My COO, a couple of the other brown and black folks that were in my community knew about it from jump. They were at a couple of the first things, and they knew that I was very serious about it. To the point, you have something and you hide it.
Yeah.
And
Like,
not,
it was shame? Like, you were ashamed?
not ashamed of it, but I'm just saying in general, you have
Yes.
something that you hide, either
Yeah.
because you're not sure of it yet, or
Right.
it's really just close to the cuff and yours. Like, I
Right.
was loud about it. And like, no, I don't have time to work on the weekends. I
Yeah.
got this going on now. Y'all got me during the week. So it started to like kind of work its way into like the office politics.
Yeah.
But I was also not hiding it, to the sense of like, if you want to know why I don't have time for y'all, you can come see what I'm doing.
Right.
And a few people did. And once it was established that like, you have something else that you care about, and I understand that you are borrowing my time.
Right. Right. No, you said something that hit me. You said your 9 to 5 was your side gig.
Yeah.
Which is, you're flipping it on its head. Most people, their 9 to 5, that's their bread, and nothing can detract from your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And you're just like, nah, my 9 to 5 is what feeds this real important other thing that I'm working on. So that's like, I don't care how corporate it is. That's the equivalent of my 7-Eleven, job. And I'm not really, I'm there, but I'm not. I'm not really, but this is what I am.
Yeah.
This is what
Like, you all are lucky to have me, because I have all this other stuff that's really great and beautiful and impactful going on.
Right.
And I was really blatant about that, to the point that like, I was ready to quit coming up on the new year, coming into 2018.
Yeah.
We got acquired I went to Cuba, beautiful. I was like, don't talk to me. Nobody talk to me for 3 weeks. I'm going away.
I mean, they don't
Came
have
back.
They don't have Wi-Fi, do they?
They don't have nothing.
say,
So I
so
literally
you-
was like, you guys actually can't
Can't talk
expect
to
me
me,
to
right.
say nothing to y'all. So 3 weeks I was out, came back. The day I got back, company-wide town hall, we got bought. We got
You
acquired.
didn't know this going out.
Nope. Got acquired. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, damn, that's all right. That's cool. We gonna
Came
have
with-
some changes. September, I was the first one fired. I was given like a month. And I'm sure they just got a list of names.
She got her side gig.
Salaries.
Yeah.
Like, your side gig get cut. So when I said it was very anticlimactic, I was getting ready to like really jump in and be like, I'm ready for this. This is what I'm hustling towards and what I'm doing full time. And they were like, here's a really shitty severance package.
That's awful.
And when I say really shitty, it was like I almost preferred not to have it. But I was already getting cut loose, and I wasn't even surprised at how quick I got cut and that I did get cut, because by then I was working. I was in the office part-time. I was still getting full salary. Like, I was always on this, like, if my team's doing what they need to do and you don't, like, you don't need to bother me about
Right.
how I'm getting y'all the numbers that I'm getting you. So
Yeah.
just leave me be.
Right.
And I was getting ready to jump ship, and they cut my rope first, which was all right for me. I was able to
Right.
get a couple of extra funds with some unemployment and
Right.
whatever else. But
Yeah.
again, long story short and very anticlimactic, the decision was made for me. But my founders and I just made the commitment that this was stuff that was worthwhile for us to do, and we were going to be obviously very economical and smart in how we did it, but
Right.
we were committed personally to funding it and making sure it happened however it needed to.
So you've been solo dolo for what, about 2 years?
3.
3.
Yeah.
2008. You said you guys are
September 2017.
17.
So yeah,
Dang.
3 years.
I feel like I'm talking to someone who's recovered from an addiction. Corporate, yo.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It is.
Yeah.
When you think you're only going to survive because you have a corporate job or you need someone else, you know.
When it's so much of your identity and
Yeah.
your routine,
Right.
and just when it becomes what you think is what your contribution is to
Yeah.
the world,
Yeah.
you kind of like lost in the sauce.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the issue.
Mhm.
We're talking about the issue that the SLAPcollective, your nonprofit,
Mhm.
seeks to address. And it's not as cut and dry as a lot of other nonprofits because you guys are creating a space for people to address many issues.
For sure.
So I know for you, you said in high school, you were, there's a lot of identity challenges.
Mhm.
I don't want to say challenges, but you were really facing your identity. Like, what is your identity?
Yeah.
How, I guess, is it safe to say that you having to face that that kind of that introspective, reflective part of your life, kind of what people are coming to the SLAPcollective with, like just this idea of identity?
I think that's definitely a part of it. So in high school, I was Haitian, friends were Jamaican, but like that as like an identifying property didn't really exist, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like we were just my homies this, my homies
We were
that.
who we were, right.
Who we were, and,
Yeah.
and there wasn't really there. I think the only like real identity issue that I had in high school that I was confronting and dealing with was with my sexuality.
Right.
Being queer.
Right.
West Indian, all of those
Right.
things.
I think because it's like putting LGBTQ on top of a cultural identity. I feel like because many cultures, especially if they're not Western cultures, they're very conservative.
Absolutely.
And so it's bad enough. It's bad enough without if you're not putting any type of orientation layer on top of that. Just being that, it's already difficult.
Yeah.
To grow up in America and, live in the confines of that culture. Now you're putting this whole other layer.
Growing up and living, like I was always Haitian American. Like my identity, my culture was that. And then so within that personal life of like, yeah, but they don't really fuck with like this side of like another piece of an identity that I'm actually starting to come into and learn is like a large part of who I am, how I think, what I interact with.
Right.
So that was like my first real space for that.
Right.
And then I went to college, moved out the house, moved out of my little town of beautiful Black and brown folks that I thought was normal.
Yeah.
And went into a world where I was actually stripped of that identity and was just Black. And then that's when I was like, oh, okay. So like there's a lot of layers to identity.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misconceptions and just automatic pictures and labels. And, you get that thumbnail of like, this is who you are.
Right.
And the representation and all those other things is like really when I started to just get this understanding of how dimensional diversity was, but how one-dimensional it was and existed.
Yep.
Like you pick your box, you choose it, you stick to it.
Right.
And it might be chosen for you, but like you have your own space within that box that you put yourself in, and then other people have their own idea of how you exist within that box as well.
Right.
So I think those were like the main identity properties and like experiences that really kind of put me really like profoundly and grounded me within myself, but then also just let me know like there's a whole mix of people out here that don't know anything about where and how they should really fit in,
Right.
and how they should feel about this idea of fitting in.
Right.
And I saw that a lot being in the creative community, that so many of our collective and community members that are in and out and looking for spaces to be around other people are transplants.
Oh, wow.
Are
That's
trying to
interesting.
figure just, they're on this already existing place in their path and their journey that
Right.
has landed them in New York,
Right.
has them trying to be creative,
Right.
but also trying to survive
That's interesting.
and live.
Yeah.
And I think that's the intersection of the identity that we find.
Yep.
In addition to being in America, being Black,
Right.
whether that is of other cultural background and identity or
Right.
not.
Right.
Because it took me, I think SLAP is really when I also got introduced to this dichotomy of being Black without that other culture to it, like
Right.
actually being American Black.
Right.
Like that opened my eyes to that
Right.
as well.
Right.
So I think really early on, SLAP became just an open space for all of those things to exist.
Right. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Because you, like I said, you guys don't tackle one issue. I mean, pretty much it's up to, you're just a facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own, set of things that you work through that,
Mm-hmm.
that you, each of us, reflect on and try to get some clarity on for yourself. But then you have people, now you have to facilitate it for other people to kind of do the same in a wide setting. So, I mean, gender or sexual orientation, race, religion, I mean, everything just happens here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess and it seems like there's no referee. Anything goes. Is that what we like? There's no referee. Yeah. It's kind of like everything is accepted here.
Everything is accepted, and I'll say yes, there is no referee, but I think the thing that keeps a referee in the room is the respect level.
The respect.
And it starts with respect for yourself.
Right.
You respect your own story.
Right.
You understand that there's value in truth and blurred edges that mix and mingle within yourself. You can see that in the room that you exist in.
Right.
And you're more accepting of it. You're more open to the idea that if I'm vulnerable and I speak and I am, it's not going to be received with disrespect.
Yeah.
One, because I respect it for myself.
Yeah.
And I present it as such. And two, I'm not an anomaly.
Right.
We exist so much in the regular world, in a world that is not ours, that is not designed for us, that doesn't look like us, that doesn't welcome us and tell us to be ourselves. And I'm speaking explicitly Black and brown right now, but remove that and all of those things still
exist.
Stand
right.
And exist. And that becomes how you think of yourself. That becomes how you think of others.
Right.
So when you're able to strip that and be really honest about the vehicles by which we can navigate that and talk about it, it doesn't exist.
Right.
That was like the launching pad, the soapbox, if you would, of like, we're welcoming you into this room to be yourself. Now, once you're capable and secure enough in being vulnerable and sharing what you have going on in your life, which, again, we get you to do in some type of creative format that we hope you take from this event and make it a personal daily practice of your own.
Yeah. Because
we all have something that is a creative way that we're able to voice our minds and our feelings and like let our spirit shine.
Right.
So that's really like what we introduced, just this. There's a world that you can exist and be yourself and create in. There's a world that you can share your insights and your thoughts creatively and be heard and seen and understood in that space.
Right.
And we just offer that as much as possible in as many different ways. There's so many creative ways to think about wellness, to think about your health, to think about your well-being.
Yep.
And again, that starts with the individual. Our tagline is like, color your self-worth. Once you know you are worthy and you have so much vibrancy to that understanding, you apply that and bring that everywhere that you go.
Right.
And we do that by like having collaborative work sessions as well. So open houses where you're working with 2 or 3 people in the span of the time that you're with them,
Right.
but you feel like you're just hanging out and kicking it with your friends.
Right.
We're putting on collaborative productions where we get as many people involved in the production as possible, in that process as possible. And now we're actually been doing that work enough that so many opportunities come into us that we are able to point either the person looking for work in the right direction or the person that has the opportunity to the right person to be like, well, you need to work with this person, or you need to be able to consult or like hear this person's story to get a better understanding of what it is that the project is looking for and in need of. So more than just like a community space for people to come and meet and learn from each other, we've been able to now start to get into this realm of just creative economics. You have a project that you're trying to complete. There's value in just knowing the people that you know and knowing what they're interested in and what they have to offer and what might be missing, and what others have, and being able to just kind of like mix it. So I think we're at the ground level just able to instill trust within our community and our collective of beings. Enough vulnerability so that there's enough truth and understanding and information out there. And then once we're able to like know it and pinpoint really what's available or what's needed and where the resources are best served, we're able to kind of connect those dots and make sure that we are creating together, and pushing ourselves into a realm of financial just freedom and flexibility and being able to make a living of the lives that we're trying to live. There's other ways to go about, our time that we have here. And there's ways to flip that ratio and the equation of that being 9 to 5 first and something after. There's ways to meld those, and there's ways to completely not even have to engage with it. So I think what we offer up is the possibility that that's something that we can achieve as whoever we are as those little individuals in that room. And there's real hope to be able to do it together. And own those things ourselves. So the same way, like the 9 to 5 is the side hustle, is the gig. It's like, where are there resources? Where can I point them in what direction? And how can we make sure that the foundation is there, that they're not wasted, they're built into a direction that is useful and you can expound upon,
Okay. This is I got a crazy scenario.
Hit me.
SLAPcollective, you got a room open. You got some invites, people to come in, throw some thoughts out there, Rachel Dolezal comes in the room.
Wow. Hit me. Left field.
Rachel Dolezal comes in the room. She has an identity. She's Black. She's a Black white person. Is that accepted? In the SLAP, how?
Yes, it's in the SLAP community.
In the SLAP community,
will she have a lot of questions to go through first? I'm sure. But another beautiful thing about our collective and our community, and especially since we opened up our community center as an extension of the community, but it's a separate like for-profit venture. We've gained the understanding of the fact that people that end up crossing our paths and ending up in that room that we're in belong there. They were brought there, or something that we said or did brought them there. Past, present, future, and all of those things. So if she's in that room,
you welcome Rachel if you're hearing this.
We welcome her to at least share her story. I think it's going to be a hard sale. Because of those of us that have the existence that she's claiming. But I think it's definitely a room that she would be heard and given the opportunity to speak in. She'd have some hard selling to do. But I will say, very briefly, that there's been documentaries and stuff on her. And just seeing how people operate in the world and how they look for community and who they find and claim as tribe. I don't think it's well guided that she's claiming the way that she is, but I understand it because of, again, her upbringing and who she's loved in life and where all of those things and pieces kind of fall into place in her life. I think there's other socio-psychological issues with her claiming to be Black,
Yeah.
and more issues that could be addressed than not.
Yeah.
But I understand it,
Right.
and
I mean, it's cool to
haven't
be Black now.
yeah, I haven't
I'd want
talked
to be Black if
I
I
haven't
was
talked
white.
much about privilege, but I understand I understand my privilege so
Right.
profoundly as
Right.
well. Just the fact that like I'm able to be in a situation to have worked to be able to work and consider my job to be a side hustle and a
Right.
side gig
Right.
speaks of privilege beyond
Right.
anything.
Right.
So
Right.
I understand that, and I think there's definitely a need to be able to at least sit in your privilege and understand it and use that as your starting point to a conversation, than not. So I think a lot of issues will probably reside there with Rachel. But
bless Rachel's heart.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's just, it just, for me, just asking that question kind of just, you stuck to it. Like, this is an open group, and we're all about exploring identity, especially if you have respect towards the identity. Now, again, how you contrive that identity with Rachel specifically, it's like, all right, you pulling. You really
pulling.
You pulling. You really doing
like
a lot.
There's different ways to actually communicate and articulate your affiliations.
Right. Right. I ain't mad at it. All right. I think what's great for our audience is that, for them to see, just like corporations and for-profits are struggling, nonprofits are struggling probably even worse, because
definitely worse.
A lot of our money is going to be coming from either the jobs that we work from or the donors that we have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how has life during Corona been? How has SLAP, been functioning? Staying above water.
Yeah, we've been staying afloat. I mean, the same ways that we have been. We went completely virtual. Obviously, we didn't do too much to extend into it because we didn't want to pivot too far from the idea and the complete understanding that a lot of the value is in us being in the same space together.
Right. Like physically.
Physically. There's just again, there's an energy and a vibration that comes with in person.
Oh yeah.
That can't be matched, but
right.
There are virtual and online options that don't detract too much from that. So we were able to do our writing workshops online, which we normally did twice a month. We were doing them every week for 14 weeks straight once we went in March, which I think became just a very consistent healing space for a lot of the community as well, to just kind of same reasons, just mentally sort out your mind and really figure out what your feelings and thoughts and ideas were, just what was weighing you down. So we were able to do that. We did community check-ins on IG Live.
That's dope.
So we turned our open mics, which essentially are what they were to begin with. Like, we call them open mics but they're share and tells. We call their actual name of the event is Share and Tell.
Right.
And it's a room with an open microphone. So come be creative, come vent, come rant, come whatever it is that you want to say. There's an open microphone in a room with people that will listen to you.
That's dope.
So we kept that going as our online digital, like virtual events.
Right. So you've just been trying to just be flexible.
And that was really it. Those proved to be two very meaningful ways that we were able to stay connected with the people that were engaged with us.
Yep.
And offer space for them to speak to somebody outside of their worlds and come into a room with other people that they could express themselves with.
I'm not gonna make this corny, bro. I feel like I've already done a lot of corner. I've peppered corniness throughout this entire segment, so I'm not gonna end it like this. But bro, you're so dope.
Thank you.
You should say I know.
I know, but also
on a humble tip though. On a humble tip. No, thank you for everything you do. For even just coming on the podcast and letting people into your journey towards purpose. And I think that's what we all need, is how do you live a purposeful life? And it's not only, you don't have to look at the typical prototypes of Bill Gates, Bezos. You can find that with just ordinary people who are just finding purpose and fulfillment in themselves. And a lot of people, need to kind of look more not towards the ground per se, in a way. need to find people who are living intentionally, living with purpose. And I thank you for letting us in to your life to get an understanding of just those difficult decisions you had to make. Some of those decisions were made for you, and just how you were able to kind of trust the process that, that is just at work. It's just at work, right?
Yeah.
Everything's written. Everything's already been written.
For sure.
I truly
Man,
believe
universe been looking out for me. That's all I can say. I just been ready to take those steps when they've been put in my way. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
stop thanking you now.
You're welcome.
All right? Thank you. Yo, Speak Volumes. It's a blueprint ting. I'm Hannah G, and my business partner and executive producer is Lisa Shallett. Jay Woodward is the producer. Martin Fowler is our musical composer. And Jay Kwan keeps our digital world simmering in a cauldron of vegetable stock fortified with the goodness of the fruitful earth. Peace. Bye.